back, Dara. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is episode 5 of CaneSport's Countdown to Kickoff. We took a little break because the University of Miami had a bye week this past week, but they're back in action this coming up weekend against Florida State University. Huge rivalry matchup. They've been meeting every single year since 1969. This will also be the first time since 2016 where both teams will be ranked, and it's the first time since 2013 where both teams are ranked in the top 20. But Florida State, they actually played this past week, and they went up against Virginia. And man, Florida State, you kind of killed the luster. Yeah, a little of the momentum, some hype coming into this week. A lot of people around the nation thought it was going to be maybe the biggest game of the year so far. You know, Florida State was ranked 7th before they played Virginia this coming up week. It would have been a matchup between two top 10s in the nation. You know, state championship of Florida.
Who wins the Sunshine State?
Yeah, who wins the Sunshine State? I thought it was reserved to only high school football for state championships,
right.
but
Lord knows Florida's out.
Yes, they are. But Miami, they can go to Florida State this coming up weekend and take the Florida State championship. But yes, we have to talk about how Florida State kind of messed up the momentum a bit, even though this is still a big game. So they faced Virginia, who's unranked this past weekend, and they lost 38-46 in double overtime. Dara, excuse me. Yeah, man. Geez, Florida State. If you told the Florida State fans before this game that they would find themselves in overtime before this game, man.
I have to give it to them for fighting that hard to go.
Yeah,
Virginia, they made it all the way to the end and then some.
Yeah, and Virginia definitely got up to play them. They got rewarded for their win. They moved up to 24 in the AP Top 25. Florida fell down to number 18. And this is Virginia's first time in the top 25 since 2017. So a huge win for that program, and it's going to put the rest of the ACC on notice. It's kind of shaking up how it's going to play out for the rest of the season and who's going to end up in that championship game. But yeah, let's talk about the game. 38-46, double overtime loss for Florida State. It's their first away game of the season, and they didn't really live up to the billing for that one. But yeah, it's the first ACC game and loss for that team, and you know, they're going to have to really dial in the rest of the season to hopefully find themselves in the ACC championship game. But they have a huge opportunity this coming up week against Miami. But to just talk a little bit about that game, Dara, it was back and forth, you know.
Yeah, trading scores.
Trading scores back and forth. It was tied up. They tied it in the second quarter, right? And then what ended up happening in the rest of that game?
Yeah, so FSU doesn't score at all in the first quarter, tied up in the second quarter, as you said. And then they were able to maintain that tie. Obviously, they go into overtime because of an interception, which we're going to get into all the details about that later. In overtime, the first overtime, both teams tie it up again with a field goal each, and they get sent to double overtime.
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 Yeah.
Chandler Morris runs a 4-yard touchdown and then passes to Terrell Harris for a 2-point conversion. So at this point, FSU now has the chance to tie it up once again. Potentially, are we going into a third OT? Who knows? They're on 4th and 12 at the 27th. Castellanos, FSU quarterback, he throws an interception. Immediately, the Cavaliers storm the field. We saw some alleged injuries happen there.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It definitely looked like something could have happened with how that played out. I'm honestly happy the Florida State wide receiver who was on the ground. It's like thousands of Virginia fans.
Yeah.
They got to make like an edit showing like the POV. It had to look like a war zone.
I hope he's okay. I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah.
But actually, fun fact about that game was that this was Virginia's largest home game attendance since 2023. So it's no surprise that, if all this giant crowd comes out onto the field after a win like that over a ranked team, it's not really shocking there. So.
Yeah, I got to say that just to continue off the whole like storming field points. Tommy Castellanos, he was talking this past week. He loves to talk, by the way. A great quarterback. He backed up his talk when he was talking about Alabama coming into the season. But he was talking earlier this week, and he was talking about how I haven't been part of more than 2 field rushes in a season, so I'm not sure if he was kind of trying to allude how he's maybe predicting a little field rush this weekend, but I would have maybe hold your horses, pun intended, Tommy, because I'm not sure if Florida State, if you beat Miami at home this weekend, does that really, warrant? Does that warrant a field storm? You're a ranked opponent. It's your rival.
I would say
like Virginia beating Florida State. That feels like
Florida State beating Miami warrants a Seminole field storming.
Yeah, they were 2-10 last season.
Not that they should do that. if the NCAA
But it's
is
not going to
watching
happen,
this.
by the way, Tommy. It's not going to happen. But yeah, let's talk about their leading people. You already talked about, the senior quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, leader for the team this year. In that game, he threw for 254 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. You already mentioned.
Yeah.
56.25% completion percentage. But he doesn't only do it with his arm. He also was a leader in rushing for the team as well. He had 14 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown. But we also have to talk about the skill positions on their team as well, and their standout wide receiver, Deuce Robinson. I know you're looking at me right now because I want to crown another guy is maybe living up to that Mini-Tron name. I might have prematurely named Keyshawn Singleton before the USF game as Mini-Tron.
Yeah,
but
and
I
he
think
was contained at Miami.
he was contained, yes. But Deuce Robinson, the Miami Hurricanes are going to have to contain him as well. But Deuce Robinson, he's been a huge weapon for Tommy Castellanos in that offense this season. In that game against Virginia, he had 9 receptions for 147 yards and 1 touchdown. I know he wants that 1 touchdown catch back that got pulled back, but he's really impressive. I'm calling him Mini-Tron because 6'6", 223-pound frame. He's really just an impressive overall athlete. But also in the running game, Gavin Sawchuk, he leads them in the backfield. In that game, he had 17 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. That's a 5.6 average per carry. And then they also feature another wide receiver, freshman Mekhi Donzie. I mention him now because it's kind of like a combo wide receiver running back, how they use him. In the game against Virginia, he had 3 receptions for 43 yards. But so far on the season, he's had 5 carries that have gone for 173 yards in 4 games, exactly. So yeah, that dude's legit. Yeah, fresh out of high school. And then I just want to mention 2 other skill positions. They have another freshman running back, Usman Kroma. He's been getting some good work as well. In that game, he had 12 carries for 63 yards. And so far in the season, he's been averaging 6.2 yards per carry. And then Randy Pittman Jr., he got some good work in that game as well. 2 catches, 1 touchdown, but it wasn't the only touchdown he had in the game. That was a 1 reception touchdown. But, yeah, you can tell me a little bit more about what Randy Pittman was doing.
Randy Pittman, he was the 3rd Seminole in history to accomplish this. In this game against Virginia, he scored 3 touchdowns in 3 different ways. So
impressive day. Yeah.
He rushed, he threw, and he caught. And so the only other people behind him were Jordan Travis in 22 and Red Parrish in 1949.
Guess when that guy played, guys. Red Parrish. Yeah.
That's
a
cool
1949
name. You want to talk about a cool name?
Red
Your name's
Parrish.
Red Parrish and you're playing for the Florida State Seminoles. Your name is literally Garnet.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about that defensive side because this is where maybe a little bit more of
maybe
the
weak
struggles.
link for the FSU football team.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not too much on them because they do have some good players. So specifically, defensive back Ashland Barker, he led the team with 2 sacks that game. He is one of their standout leaders on that, and we'll get into his full stats for this season later on. But he is questionable for this game against Miami as recently as this morning. So keeping our eye on that if he potentially gets back in the game.
Yeah.
And then Earl Little Jr., also defensive back, he led with 13 tackles and 4 solo tackles. So just looking at the total of FSU stats versus Virginia, they had 258 yards passing, 256 rushing, 5 penalties for 49 yards, and 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Brief moment of silence for that.
Yeah, brief moment.
1 fumble loss and 2 interceptions from Tommy Castellanos.
Yeah.
As a result of this game, we were talking about how not only this game, but a lot of the games that happened this weekend.
College football it's been a doozy this year.
Yeah, it shook up the AP poll.
Yeah, they shook up the AP poll. Yeah, I was in Publix the other day, and it fell to my knees. Yeah, you might have been like Whole Foods or something, but yeah, we fell to our knees. And we simultaneously texted, "Oh my gosh, did Oregon really just jump Miami in the polls? Did Miami lose this past week, Dara?"
Yeah, no, they didn't. Am I hearing this right?
Yeah, did they lose?
No,
I don't think so. They didn't win because they were on a bye week, but I didn't think teams were supposed to. You know what, Donnie? 1 shot right now. AP poll, what are we doing? We move Oregon up to number 2, okay? They have 1 win against a ranked opponent so far this season. Penn State this past weekend, okay. Impressive somewhat. Number 7 team in the nation. They won by 1 score, by the way. The University of Miami football team has looked at like one of maybe the best team in the country as far as overall on both sides of the football. The University of Miami team, by the way, AP, beat 3 teams that you ranked so far this season in the top 25. Florida, USF, and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, who's ranked number 6 coming into the season and was in the national championship last year. But somehow Oregon moves up to number 2 over Miami. Another thing that was kind of curious, AP poll, was Oregon moves up to number 2, but then Georgia, they stay in front of LSU, Dara. That's weird, isn't it?
That is weird.
It is weird because Georgia, they were ranked, Georgia, before they played LSU was ranked 3rd in the nation. Okay. LSU, they beat 15 Tennessee, lost to Alabama. Georgia, they beat number 15 Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Alabama. LSU was ranked number 4 before losing to Ole Miss. What are we doing, people? So then Georgia jumps up in front of LSU. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all.
I wish I had the answer.
Yeah, so AP poll, you had us thinking, you see. Because every single week, me and Dara, we're thinking about, okay, what can we argue about this week for the take for take, right? Yeah. Other than our normal arguments throughout the week.
Usual.
Yeah, we have to think, what are we going to talk about this week and have a little back and forth for the take for take. But the AP poll, they made it easy. Yeah, they made it real easy for us this week. Oh, you know what we're going to do, Dara? The take for take is starting earlier in the show this week.
Oh, it's time to argue.
Let me start. This is the take for take. It came a little earlier, guys. Yeah, a little earlier in the show today. But for this week's take for take, because of the AP polls, maybe miscues or our disagreements with how they've ordered the list so far, we thought for this week's take for take, we're going to give our own, Noah and Dara's, personal AP top 5. We're not going to do all 25 guys. We don't want to take too much of your time, even though we could. But we're going to do our top 5.
Lord knows Noah can yap.
But yes, we're going to do our top 5, AP top 5. So Dara, ladies first, sometimes, for you. Could you tell me, please, your number 5 ranked team in the nation for week 6, Dara?
All right. Hot take.
Hot take. We're starting off hot.
Okay. Stay hot. Alabama. All right. So obviously they just had this really big win against Georgia in Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia. That in and of itself is huge. Not only because, Alabama's on the road. Georgia has a 33 home game win streak. So for somebody to come in there and snap that, especially a SEC rival, that's going to be a tough game regardless. I think there's something to be said about that. Now, they did only win 24-21, but you mentioned before, Georgia beat Tennessee, who was ranked 15 at the time. They're not a bad team. That's a very impressive win in my book. One of the best teams in the nation, I would say. Next point. Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. He's in the Heisman conversations already.
Yeah, maybe not after last week, but continue.
Well, he won.
We'll see.
He won.
Yes.
Anyway, he's ranked a number 8 quarterback with 1,138 pass yards, 13 touchdowns, and not a single interception thus far. Impressive,
yes.
And when I compare him to my
for a freshman too, right? He's a true freshman, right?
No.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
You're thinking of somebody else who I'm going to talk about later.
Sorry. Yep.
No worries there. Anyway, when I compare him to somebody like Carson Beck, who we've both agreed unanimously is an elite quarterback.
CB.
Yep. We love him so much. Even he's thrown interceptions. He was leading the nation in completions, and he's since fallen, and now Ty Simpson's taking the crown.
Yep.
Excuse me. Another thing about Alabama, they have a top 10 strength of schedule according to ESPN. So maybe they don't have as many blowout wins as some of the teams that you're going to mention. I can't discount the strength of schedule. You can't discount that this is a SEC team. They're inherently going to be playing against harder teams than the rest of the. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I'm not done yet. Okay, they're ranked top 30 on both sides of the ball. Well-rounded team. They can perform on the defense, on the offense. Quarterback is capable in pass and run. Next point, the program tradition. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing because I'm just waiting because I'm sensing some SEC bias right now, Dara. We're really throwing Bama right now in the top 5. They don't deserve to be in the top 5.
And here's the thing
How
about
are we really rewarding Alabama after they lost to Florida State? You see, I would be this.
Well, we're about to have a whole show talking about how Florida State is a good team.
Yeah, well, okay, but wait. I don't reward teams. We just started talking about how we don't reward teams for not doing too much. Okay.
They beat Georgia.
Oh yes, they beat Georgia, but they also lost to Florida State first game of the year. And Florida State just lost this past. Yes, they are a good team.
Really good team.
Yes, but they're ranked number 18 right now, and they just lost to a team who's unranked in Virginia. Granted, they're ranked 24 now. But yes, they lost to Florida State first game of the year. Florida State ranked 18. You're putting them in the top 5.
Mind you, Tommy Castellanos came into the game against Virginia coming off an injury. So that could be something to take into consideration when you talk about maybe the interceptions, the turnovers, things like that.
I think he looked pretty good in that game, and I think maybe...
I'm not saying he looked bad. I mean, look at
maybe
the
Alabama got caught by Florida State.
It was a trap
an
game.
inferior opponent,
they said
which
that.
you are saying that they are an inferior opponent. I don't think they deserve to be in the top 5, but I guess you continue
well,
on
I'm
with
not
your
done.
last point.
I'm not
Yes.
done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're mentioning, there's an SEC bias. I'm
Yes.
with you there. The AP poll consistently has, the selection committee has
Yes, we're supposed to be different from the AP poll.
Well, the AP poll has Bama at number 10. I'm putting them higher because, first of all, I think this is what's going to happen anyway. I think that there's going to be a bias towards Alabama going into the playoffs.
Yeah, but they got 12
because
teams.
of the because of this program's tradition. And you always say, okay, Nick Saban's not there. Tommy Castellanos was, chirping Nick Saban a little bit.
Back to Tommy talking. Yeah, no, it was a
Tommy
cool
does
quote, though. I
talk.
will give it to him. He said, Nick Saban can't save y'all no more. They're printing T-shirts in Tallahassee. But nah, for real, he cannot save them anymore, Dara. And
But I'm not
You have
done.
to stop. Alabama does not have the same aura. It's not the same aura.
No, for
Why
sure.
are you giving? Why are you
give
trying
me
to
a coach,
give them
give me
that
a
type
college
of
football coach that has the amount of aura that Nick Saban has?
Mario Cristobal?
You're so biased right now. That's biased.
Cristobal's Canes.
That's my thing.
The Mario movement.
That's my thing.
Keep it going.
That's my thing. I love Mario Cristobal, but I'm
Okay.
just saying Nick Saban is indisputably
Alabama
the
at number
GOAT.
5, Dara.
Alabama at number 5. Okay, Alabama's at number 5. The selection committee is going to favor this program because Nick Saban's legacy and his effect is still there, even though he's been gone for a year now. He's on game day. He's doing all the big things. But his influence, I think, is certainly still in effect. Last thing, I know who your number 5 is, so I'm going to wait to say this point so I can press you a little bit. With that being said, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Dara.
Yeah.
Took a little sec there. I'm finally in, guys. Number 5.
It's only because you interrupt me every 5 seconds, but there I go interrupting.
Exactly. Okay, so my number 5 team in the nation, Texas A&M. 4-0 so far in the season, 1-0 in your highly touted SEC conference.
It just means more.
Yes. Okay, so they began the season at number 19 overall. Okay. And truthfully, I have them in my top 5. Oklahoma is ranked number 5 in the nation right now. Pretty good team. I really don't have too much to say about them bad at all. But I just think that Texas A&M is better as far as a resume so far in the season. And I think teams should be rewarded for their resume, people. Okay? So I like Texas A&M's win at Notre Dame better than I like Oklahoma's win over Michigan when they were at home. Okay? Two very, very different things. By the way, we talked a whole lot about Notre Dame, CJ Carr, Jerry Monstar, and all these other guys. Okay?
God forbid Jerry Monstar.
God forbid. Yes. But yeah, we talked about all these teams, and truthfully, I think we both still agree on this.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that Notre Dame, they have played some very, very good teams so far this season. They returned a lot of the same team that they had last season that made it to the national championship. They came into this season, people, ranked as your number 6 team in the nation. So this team is a very good team. They went to Notre Dame and beat them. Notre Dame's only other loss in the season, they went to the University of Miami at Hard Rock Stadium and lost a close one-score game to Miami, who was ranked number 2, now number 3 in the AP poll. Okay? So that is why I have Texas A&M at number 5. I just think their overall resume so far is better than Oklahoma at number 5 for the AP poll.
That's fine, but I'm going to argue with you there because I think that my choice is better.
And why is that?
Are you going to tell me that Texas A&M beating number 21 Notre Dame is a bigger deal than Alabama beating Georgia at home? Georgia at number 12? You're talking about resumes. Inherently, Alabama has a bigger win than Texas A&M.
You see, I...
Got him there.
No.
Let's go to number 4.
No, you didn't get me because you see, I have to gather my thoughts before I speak there because you didn't really think too much about you before you made that point right there. You see,
You're citing Notre Dame as their biggest win.
Isn't that simple, Dara? You're thinking too simple.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going off of what you're
picture.
saying. I'm going.
Okay.
When
so,
I said that, you said that was a stupid point.
Let me get to my point, Dara. Okay. You
Okay.
just made the point of how are you saying that Texas A&M is better than Alabama's win over Georgia, right? Because Georgia was highly ranked. Texas A&M beat number 21 Notre Dame. Granted, I did mention how Notre Dame was in the national championship this season. I mean, last season, and was ranked number 6 coming into the season. Okay. But we cannot forget that Alabama lost to Florida State to begin the season.
And I think
now
Florida
we must
State
go to number 4.
Florida
Dara.
State has the potential to be a top 10 team.
Yes, but they're not. So we're talking about resume, and that's my number 5. So let's go, Dara. What's your number 4?
All right. Number 4, I have Ole Miss.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, my God, another SEC team. What are we going to do? Okay, they're coming off of a big win. And actually, AP agrees with me on this, so no hard feelings there, guys.
Yeah.
They're coming off a big win against LSU. They knocked them out with a 24-19 win. This was LSU's first loss of the season, and LSU previously they beat Florida, which now we've talked about maybe. Well, we talked about Florida as actually not that bad. So, but at the time that LSU played Florida in Death Valley, Florida was ranked at that time. So, have to think about that. They also beat Clemson week 1. At the time of that game, Clemson was favorite to win the ACC.
Yeah.
Clearly, the tides have changed, but you have to look at it going into the season.
Yes.
At the time of this game, that's where Clemson was supposed to be. Ole Miss also beat Kentucky and Arkansas. Again, they're not like the best teams.
Yeah.
But they're conference teams, they're SEC teams,
Yes.
and though they're not as tough, we know that the SEC. Sorry, maybe I am SEC biased, but I think that this is the toughest conference in college football. So to have any win over them,
argue with you there.
yeah, come on now. And having any wins over SEC teams, especially in conference rivalries like that, is going to, for me, hold a little bit more weight than some of the no-name teams that some of the other teams on your list have been beating. Lastly,
You don't know who I got on my list. Yeah, I have to tell you who's on my list. Maybe, finish your point first, Dara.
I don't need to hear it to know. Anyways, my last point, their quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, he has an 87.6 QBR with 1,033 pass yards, 269 rushing, and 7 touchdowns. So he's ranked at a number 3 out of all quarterbacks in the nation, according to ESPN. I have a lot of confidence in Ole Miss on both sides of the ball, and that's why I think that they are my number 4.
I like that there. Yeah. Cool. I like your number 4. Pretty good arguments there. I just have them a little higher, so you'll hear me make that argument a little later. But I want to clarify right now, I am not an Oregon University hater. Excuse me. I am not a hater, but I'm not going to be hyping up this team. I'm more bringing them down. Okay. So I have Oregon at number 4 in my AP poll. I'm bringing them down from number 2 where they are. Okay. 5-0, 2-0 in the Big Ten. They began 7 overall to begin the season. And for this week, they received 16 first-place votes. Okay, 3 teams received 16 first-place votes. Those other 2 teams are on this list as well that we will get to. But the only reason I have Oregon, I keep talking about resume, okay, and what you have to prove. But, it's not only resume, how the team looks, how they've come together, what they look like on both sides of the ball, tie into these things, yes. So that is why Oregon is still in my top 5. But as far as resume, I mentioned the only win that they really have against a team that really holds some weight is Penn State, and I do not want to brush over that win at all because that is the game that proved that Oregon should 100% be in the top 5 of the country, okay? But before that win, their previous 4 games, Montana State 59-13, Oklahoma State 69-3, Northwestern 34-14. Let me know when you hear a good team, by the way. Oregon State 41-7. Okay? So they handled their business. They beat the number 7 team in the nation at home by 1 score. Okay? So you're my number 4 team in the nation, and I don't think that puts you ahead of the 3 teams that I will get to. But Dara,
that's fair.
Who's your number 3?
Well, my number 3 is Oregon.
Okay.
So
yes.
we've
You
got
a little higher.
We have a little discrepancy between 3 and 4.
Yes.
Which I can't get too upset about because, what's one place?
Yes.
Here's why I think that
What's
Oregon,
one place, right? First and second, just like this.
Okay, that's true.
What's
especially
one place?
when we're talking about Miami going from 2 to 3. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what's
one place? In our hypothetical dreamland where me and Noah are the AP.
Yes.
Anyways, Oregon.
Just our poll, yeah. We're the only ones voting.
Nobody else is allowed to vote.
No one. But okay, yeah, you're number 3.
I put Oregon at number 3 as opposed to their current ranking of number 2.
Yes.
Their quarterback, Dante Moore, he is emerging as a Heisman contender.
Yeah.
He's a really good quarterback. He's number 5 quarterback in the country. He has an 83 QBR. He's thrown for 1,210 yards and 14 touchdowns. It's a lot of touchdowns, okay? And this team overall, yes, they're not playing like the hardest team.
No.
But as a team, as a unit, they're improving week to week.
Yes.
And I think that's also something that is important. Once again, like you said, they're 5-0. And we had another double overtime win, Oregon beating Penn State, number 3 Penn State. which I don't think you can discount because look at Happy Valley. Right. Okay. So we have two Death Valleys in the South. Penn State's Happy Valley wasn't too happy for them. Okay.
No, it was not.
That environment. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a very tough environment to play in. The whiteout, the fans are very intense up there. So to go on the road.
You been to Penn State before? Sorry to cut you off.
Nah.
Nah. Yeah. Screw the Big. Sorry. Continue going.
No, I haven't been there, but I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up knowing about the
Michigan Penn State lore.
The Michigan Penn State lore. I am from Michigan. But yeah, okay,
No,
not too much on that.
Yeah, okay.
No, I everybody knows what the Penn State atmosphere is like. So to go on the road and win in double overtime once again, it shows that if they're fighting a good team, they can take it all the way in double overtime to pull out the win. It's a character win.
Yes.
I think that says a lot about them. I think you said I don't want to brush over it, but I think you kind of did. So I want to give them their flowers there. That was a really big win.
Let me know if I brushed over
The other
that.
thing is Oregon is top 5 nationally in plays of 20-plus yards. Obviously, they're very effective and efficient on the offensive side. And on the defensive side, their front 7 is top 10 in tackles for loss. So once again, a well-rounded team. As far as resume goes, they will be playing harder teams down the road as they get into more of the Big Ten games. But this first game against Penn State, I think, for me, was very convincing that this team deserves to be in the top 5. And for me, that's at number 3.
Okay, cool. Good argument there.
Okay.
But the reason why I had your number 4 as my number 3 in Ole Miss is because I believe they're better than Oregon so far. Okay, so 5-0.
Well, no,
and 3-0
no.
in the SEC. Yeah.
Like,
no,
obviously.
Yeah, right, obviously. But 3-0 in the SEC. You keep talking about how wins in the SEC matter. You also talked about how their win against Arkansas, even though it's not the best team in the SEC, it matters.
It does.
Well, Oregon and Ole Miss have a mutual opponent. They both played Arkansas. You know who won by more, Dara? Ole Miss. But even though that's not the greatest argument, okay, so they began 21 overall to begin the season, okay? They jumped up to 13 overall before the LSU game, okay? And now they're ranked top 5 in the nation. So this is their highest ranking since 2015, okay? To continue off of that, they're second in the SEC in yards per game, 8th in total offense nationally for the entire FBS, okay? And their QB, Trinidad Chambliss, the former 0-star recruit, by the way, is over 300 yards in 3 straight games. Okay, they're number 4 in the coaches poll, by the way. So we've been putting our little shade out on the AP poll.
Not we, you.
Okay, so I've been putting out shade on the AP poll, guys. But I will admit, okay, that the AP, they do another cool thing. They put out the coaches poll, and I do respect some of the coaches' opinions a bit more. And coach, you know where they have them? They got them at number 4 in the country. They got them in the top 5 team. They got Ole Miss a little higher, and I agree with the coaches. They're a very, very good team. Okay. So that's my number 3, Dara. Let's hear your number 2.
It's got to be the U.
It's the U?
It's got to be the U.
Throw it up. Yes, that's where they should have stayed, AP. Number 2.
Not
Why are
number
they there?
1.
Yeah,
if not number 1, but we're going to talk about that.
We didn't want to be like that. We were thinking about it, truthfully.
Yeah.
We agree on these last 2 picks. I'm
Yeah.
proud of us there.
Yeah, there we go.
High five, yeah? Oh, whoa. We got to try
Do
that
it again.
Yep.
There we
Success.
go.
Yes. We have the last 2. We're similar here, so let's hear it.
All right, Miami. Obviously, we're both going to talk about this,
Yes.
so don't need to get too in the weeds. And if you watch this show, you know all of the reasons why Miami is one of, if not the best teams in the country. But
Yes.
for our purposes, at number 2, they've got 2 ranked wins against Notre Dame and USF.
Yes.
They also beat Florida, who
Can't fail to mention they were ranked
They
coming
were
into the
ranked
season
coming
and
into
after
the
week
season.
1. Yes.
yes. So I will count that. We've also talked about Florida's not as bad as their rankings may suggest.
Yes.
Other thing about Miami, they remain undefeated, as we know. They have a top offensive line in the nation.
Yes.
Elite quarterback. He's
Yes.
competent in the pass and run game. The whole offense is competent in the pass and run game. And once again, that defense never lets up. They look at more than 1 blowout games this season against, yes, Bethune-Cookman, but also USF.
Yeah.
Who was ranked coming into this game. And we actually hypothesized that game was going to be a lot tougher than it was.
Yeah.
So I got to give the defense their flowers there for containing the Jeremiah Star and Byron Brown.
Yes.
And
yes.
also Keyshawn Singleton,
Yes,
Minitron.
all the good players we've seen so far, they have been able to contain. And the Miami Hurricanes have just continued to prove so far this season that they're a lot better than they were last year as far as a complete team. And every single game, they continue to just put themselves forward as one of the best 2 teams in the country, I believe. Okay. But to continue off your point, I brought up the coaches poll, and Miami's also ranked in the top 3 of the coaches poll as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I mentioned how 3 teams received first place votes for the AP poll for the top 25. And those 3 teams were Oregon, who I mentioned got 16 first place votes, okay? But Miami was the other team who got 4 first place votes, and then the other team who will be our number 1 is obviously the one
winner.
the one that got it. But you kind of already covered it a lot. Miami has established themselves as maybe the best team all around in the country, and they're going to continue on going into this year, and they have a chance to get the Florida State Championship this coming up week, and that will honestly probably be their final litmus test as far as where they are at.
Finally, for the AP poll to take Miami seriously,
yes,
maybe.
because this will most likely be their toughest opponent going forward for the rest of the season, barring some crazy fall-offs and they don't make it into the ACC championship and continue on to the playoffs. So this will be a huge test for Miami this coming up week, and they have the opportunity to continue proving everybody wrong and right about them. So let's talk about number 1, Dara.
Yeah,
Boo.
it's gotta be Ohio State.
Yeah. We wanted to be a little biased, but we couldn't do that. We're objective journalists here on CaneSports Countdown.
And
Kickoff.
looking at classic, AP got this one right, I think. The defense is elite here. They're allowing fewer than a touchdown per game. They're allowing 5.5 points on average per game. That's the best in the nation.
Yes.
They have one of the nation's best defensive backfields and pass rush that leads the entire Big Ten in sacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw what they did to Washington, held them to 6 points.
Yeah.
Now, Washington hasn't played some super impressive teams, but even so, usually are able to score.
Yeah.
They're a very high-scoring offense.
A team hasn't put up 10 points on them all season.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that is crazy. It's objectively an elite defense.
Yeah.
Defensive end Caden Curry, he was named Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. He had 3 sacks in 1 game. Now, the offensive side of the ball, this is the freshman quarterback I think you were thinking of.
Excuse me, yeah.
Julian Sayin, he has 78 completions on 99 attempts. That's 78.8% completion rate. So he leads the entire nation in completions. He's a freshman. We already talked about Carson Beck previously held that title. This guy knocked him off. So he's had 10 TDs. And he coming into college at Ohio State, he was a top 5 and 5-star recruit out of high school. So I think once again, both sides of the ball, they do very well, and I think that they deserve to be named as such.
And this is another team. I kind of back up both of my points with this. It's kind of wish-washy, but let me explain myself a bit. So I talked about the resume, okay, and Ohio State's resume so far this season isn't the greatest. They have 1 win against a ranked opponent, but that ranked opponent was Texas, who the AP poll had as the number 1 team in the country coming into this year. But I also talked about how I don't believe that teams should be penalized if they don't lose, So Miami fell even though they lost this week. But how are we going to take Ohio State outside the number 1 spot in the poll? I would have began them in the season at number 1 because they won the national championship last season. They continue to dominate everyone they see, except for Texas. They won by 7 points, but they won that game. So they continue on to just dominate every single opponent that they face, and it's the number 1 team in the country, 46th place for the first place in the AP poll. So that is why they are there.
Cool.
So
Overall, biggest thing we can all agree on is Miami should not have dropped after
No.
a bye week. I mean, God forbid a guy take a break.
But thanks for giving us the idea for this take for take AP
shout
poll.
out.
Yeah. But I will admit, to give some grace to the AP poll. Yeah, we talked about how this college football season has kind of been a doozy so far. The AP poll, you might have confused us a bit because how you had it set up throughout the first few weeks, some really good teams, and they lost, and then they won again, and then everything's jumping around.
Yeah.
USF's unranked now, but then Florida, everything's weird. But
hard to know
thank
who's
you, AP
who's
poll,
good for
for
real.
continuing to provide us with lists every week. But that was our take. I hope
Yeah.
you guys enjoyed our take for take. But this isn't all happiness and roses for
No,
the
we
take
got
for
a
take.
big
Dara. We gotta
game.
stop smiling though, because we have to figure out who won the take for take. Yeah, you
Oh.
want to get out of this? Yeah. She didn't even want to ask.
Shoot.
All right,
Forgot
Donnie,
about
you
this
already know.
part.
You're the only one.
Gotta be Noah this week. Gotta be Noah.
Wow. Okay, guys, I gotta contain myself a bit. I'm gonna stand up. You know what? Yes. Let me kind of stretch a bit, guys, because they're a little hyped. I wasn't showing it good enough last week. This was the calculator for the take for take. Let me show Dara. Yeah. This is the take for take last week. But for this week, it's all tied up now, Dara. I told you that the win margin was gonna be changing and going in my favor. But we gotta change this right here. Yes. 2 wins. 2 wins for Noah. It goes to 2 losses for Dara. And the score for the take for take after 5 weeks, guys. take for take after 5 weeks. It's all tied up, 2-2-1. If I didn't give you that frickin' charity frickin'
Man, you
draw
hold a
after
grudge.
week 1.
You hold a
Oh,
grudge.
no. Hey, remember, I'm not the sore loser here, Dara. I'm just a happy
Who's
winner.
being sore? I'm
Yeah.
happy.
You're happy? I will give you. You know what? I got to give you a little compliment right now, Dara,
Yeah.
because she fired me, guys, as the artist for the calculator, guys. So Dara did her artwork.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know, you made yourself beautiful, Dara. You got like some happy, like hearts going around, some sunshine.
That's
You gave
my
me a
aura.
smiley face, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna give you a frowny face, but
Yeah, I talked you out of that. Yeah. You see, guys, you know, sore loser over here for Dara. But yeah, hey, she gave us clothes, maybe no pants. Maybe add those next time, Dara. But yes, the take for take after 5 weeks, guys. Thank you.
all
So
right.
yes, now we
Let's
have to
talk
get
about
back
this
to
game.
business. We got to get back to business. So yeah, huge
Lock in, come
rivalry
on.
game this coming up week. Florida State. It's going to be in Tallahassee. Miami's going on the road for the first time this season. Huge test. So let's talk about the leaders on both sides of the ball for both of these teams. So Miami quarterback, we talked about CB. Carson Beck, 972 yards on the year so far. He has 73.2% pass completion and 7 TDs and 3 interceptions. The pass completion for him is also ranked 8th in the country so far for all quarterbacks. On the other side of the field, we'll have Tommy Castellanos, 848 yards passing so far on the season, a 64.3% pass completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But we also mentioned that he affects the game in other ways, not just with his arm. But I already mentioned Deuce Robinson, very, very the number one weapon in their offense in the receiving department. So far on the year, 22 receptions for 268 yards and 1 TD. And I want to add this stat because it was kind of wild. His stats so far as receiving yards and touchdowns for Florida State receivers, Deuce Robinson's touchdowns and receiving yards are more than the next 3 Florida State wide receivers combined. So, yes, very, very good wide receiver over there at Florida State. But then we said that we were going to keep mentioning his name every single week. Get
You
used to
already
it, guys,
know.
and maybe for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
But Malachi Toney, he is leading the University of Miami Hurricanes in receiving. He has 22 receptions for 268 yards and 1 touchdown. But now we have to talk about the rushing department. Yes.
Yeah. Give me that defense. Okay. Or sorry, not I. My bad.
Yeah. The Miami defense got to really hammer down on the rush game this coming up
Yes,
week.
they do. Thank
yes.
you so much. Mark Fletcher Jr., okay, he's got 66 carries, 388 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
He's Miami's leader in
Yes.
the rushing. Gavin Sawchuk for Florida State, he has 42 carries, 234 yards, and 6 touchdowns. But also, like you said, Tommy Castellanos is also very efficient in the run game. He is just behind Gavin Sawchuk with 41 carries for 217 yards and 4 touchdowns. This is crazy. Through their first 3 games, Florida State accumulated more total touchdowns and rushing yards than all of last season.
Yeah, they
And
were 2 and
doubled-
10,
they
but
doubled
that's
their
still,
number of rushing scores.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So it's a different team. This is a
Yes.
very, very different team
Yes.
than last year.
And
Yeah.
now we're talking about that defense.
Yes, let's
All
talk
right.
about that defense.
Let's start with Florida State.
4-5 all day, every
Yeah.
day. It's
Oh,
my
for
favorite
sure.
phrase
For
from
sure.
Miami Hurricanes.
I'm going to start with Florida State, though.
Okay.
Ashland Barker. Like we said, their defense is their weak link, but this guy is a standout. 10 tackles with 2 sacks for 10 yards. Once again, he's questionable for Miami. They also have Earl Little Jr. He's got 11 tackles. But overall, those are the 2 kind of main guys that you want to keep your eye on. And then, Miami, you already know, Reuben Bain Jr., 11 tackles, 2 sacks for a loss of 13 yards and 1 interception.
Shout out to Akeem Messidor, too.
Yes, 2.5 sacks, 15 yards.
Yes. So let's talk about the FSU offense that they will be going up against this coming up weekend, Dara. So we talked about how Tommy Castellanos, he's at the center quarterback, but Gus Malzahn, he's the offensive coordinator for the Florida State Seminoles, and he's honestly regarded as maybe an offensive guru or genius. He's definitely been a face that's been in the eyes of college football fans around the nation for a lot of years for
He's
the
been
past
all
few
over.
years. Yeah, he's been all over. He was 8 winning seasons at Auburn. Then he went to UCF. He made them bowl eligible for his first 3 years there. And then he ended up leaving after a not so successful 2024 season. And that's when he took the job over at Florida State. But since that point, he has just installed his overall scheme and playbook into this Florida State Seminoles offense. And that is what has led to them being the number 1 offense in the country so far this season. He has a lot of different stuff that he'll throw at you. It's a lot of different motion, jet sweeps, orbit motions. It's a lot of different stuff that he'll throw at you. You're not really sure like who's handing off the ball, who's going to take the ball. It's a lot of different motions going all over the field, and that's why that they have such a good running department so far. That's why guys like Micah Donzie, they can 5 rushes for 173 yards. They're really confusing for defenses that go up against them. But so far, their offense and touchdown department, they're leading opponents 29-9. They've scored 31 or more points in every single game so far this season. FSU's offense also has put up 53 points and 600 yards averaged per game. That accounts for 2,400 yards so far this season. And they're also second in the country for 30-plus and 40-plus yard passes. So they'll hit you on the ground, they'll hit you in the pass, and Deuce Robinson also responsible for some of those 30 and 40-yard passes. Minitron. So we really got to, the Miami Hurricane defense is going to have a lot of stuff coming at them this coming up week. But Mario Cristobal, he also spoke a little about what he believes is the key to stopping the FSU offense. And he said that it is hammering and limiting their offensive line and how they can put their impact on this game. He talked about how their offensive line is big, physical, light on their feet. But they're going up against one of the best defensive lines in the country as well. So FSU, the number 1 total offense in the country, not by a lot. I mean, not by a little, by a lot.
Yes.
But yes, it's the number one ACC team in total offense as well. I mentioned how they have put up 600 yards per game, which accounts for 2,400 yards so far in 4 games. But okay, I did a little hype up of the FSU offense, but we cannot fail to mention that 2 of their games were against Kent State and Texas A&M Commerce. Got to add the Commerce at the end there, so
Lord
you don't think
knows
it's
what
the
that
real
is.
Texas A&M. Yeah, it's I don't know who that is, but yes, they went up against Texas A&M Commerce and put up 729 yards. Against Kent State, they put up 775 yards. So if you want to take out those 2 gimme games, they're averaging about 448 yards of total offense a game. Nothing to sneeze at, but if you put those totals up in the ACC standings, they would actually sit at number 5 for total offense in the ACC, and they'd actually fall right behind the University of Miami, yes, who averages about 450 yards per game. So yes, this offense is very good at FSU. A lot of stuff they can throw at you, but it might not be as good as they have looked so far, or the stats show. But yes, they have the 6th highest run rate in the nation. I kind of mentioned how they do a lot of different motions and how they implement that into their play scheme. But with that run rate, they also average the 2nd highest yards per carry in the country. So this is a team that really likes to rely on the run, and that's why they got into trouble against Virginia, because Florida State did not take an offensive snap with the lead. So for a team that relies heavily on the run, they're really going to have to, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State wins the coin toss this week, that they actually take the ball first so they can maybe get some points on the board to try and put some pressure on Miami and get their run game going. But yeah, I talked about the offense, Gus Malzahn, and he can probably talk about it a bit better because he talked at the press conferences this past week, and he talked about the adversity that his team has to bounce back from following their loss to Virginia. So Donnie, could you please cue it to the Gus Malzahn interview?
I think the biggest thing, the positive I took from the deal, is the way we responded. We kept fighting and kept playing. There was some execution things late, obviously, but we're still growing, and that's just the way it is. And we got to eliminate the mistakes. I do feel good about this group, the way that they responded after the game, the way they responded today in the practice, and we got to be that offense that learns from it and is better moving forward. And I expect us to do that.
Well, Dara, we definitely expect that the Florida State offensive coordinator will definitely be propping up his team and expressing that he expects them to bounce back from the setback that they had this past week. But now that we heard from Gus Malzahn, let's talk about the other side of the ball with the Florida State defense, maybe the weak link for this Florida State team. But let's talk about the defense there.
Yeah, so we got to give their new defensive coordinator his flowers. It's Tony White. He was hired in December of last year. He came from Nebraska. Before that, he was at Syracuse. He's got a pretty good resume. He's a 2-time Broyles Award nominee. He's produced a top 25 defense for the last 4 years at 2 different schools. So clearly he's able to turn programs around. And throughout his time, he's held opponents to less than 100 rush yards for 25 games and less than 75 rush yards for 15 games.
No,
Matter of fact,
impressive. Someone's going to give this coming up week.
Yeah, we'll see. But thank you, Donnie. You mentioned against Alabama, Here's the thing. You were talking about earlier in your argument, like, okay, Alabama lost to FSU, and that's why I shouldn't have them in my top 5.
Yes.
And then you proceeded to list out all of the things that made FSU's offense so great. But anyway, that's not
Their
relevant to
offense.
this. Their offense, yes.
They're
okay.
ranked in the top 20.
Their defense held
Dara.
Alabama. Their defense held Alabama to their fewest rush yards in a season opener since 1975.
Yes.
Alabama only had 87 yards
Nick Saban ain't
against
there
them.
to save you no more.
Allegedly.
Nope.
He's there in spirit. All right, and Tony White's known for his 3-5-5 scheme with a focus on speed and versatility. So it seems like this is kind of a
pretty
common
similar.
thing on both sides of the ball, and also very similar to what Corey Hatherman does, which I think is actually why this is going to be a very entertaining matchup, not just because of the rivalry, but because they're like very similar. Okay, so like if the offensive strategy is to like switch up tempo and play around with
run heavy. Yep.
Yeah, switching things around, switching people around. That's specifically what Corey Hatherman's defense is designed to do, to adapt to situations like that. So I just think that's an interesting parallel there. Excuse me. And then again, just a couple notable names. We talked about Ashlyn Barker. Again, 13 tackles with 2 sacks. And then also cornerback Jabril Rawls. He had a career high 11 tackles and his first interception in his career against Virginia. And that was the interception that actually forced it into overtime. So clearly he's able to make plays when it comes down to the wire. And that's, something we got to look out for.
Yes. Tell me about their current defensive rankings then, because this.
Yeah. Okay. So the defense, it's not looking too good. Okay, FSU's 83rd in coverage grade. They're number 28 in overall defense. It's not horrible. 28 is not horrible.
No, it's not.
But they're 93rd in the pass rush grade.
Yes. And when you're going to be going up against Mark Fletcher, Marty Brown, and Jordan Lyle, he's back this week, actually.
And that's definitely something that Miami can certainly exploit. When it comes to the defense, though, and we're talking about it being the weak link and kind of what helped Virginia take them down last week, Castellanos had a message for his defense. Basically, he said, quote, just be physical, be dominant. And then, he really wants them to go get after Carson Beck. Specifically, he said, get after that guy back there and make him uncomfortable.
Castellanos can talk.
He can talk.
Yeah, but he wasn't the only one that had the media availability the other
For
day.
sure.
Yeah, Deuce Robinson said something cool as well, right?
Yeah, so he's talking all about why this game gets him so excited. And I don't want to speak for him, so y'all can hear it for yourself. Donnie, roll the clip.
Yeah, I think it's this is the game you grow up hearing about, right? Like, these are the moments. This is why you come to Florida State, to be able to play this game. And so, hearing my dad talk about his experiences throughout this game, just talk about the feelings he has, the passion he has for this game. I'm really excited to be able to participate.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about how the Miami defense kind of mimics what Florida State's trying to do. So we got to talk about Miami, both sides of the ball. Let's start with defense, okay?
Yes.
Miami leads the ACC in total defense. They allow 244 yards per game. And their defense has registered 10 sacks, and that's about 2.5 sacks per game, and 26 tackles for loss. That's around 6.5 per game, and that's 33rd nationally on the season. Interesting fact here, opponents against Miami are 24% on third down conversion attempts. That's for Miami, that's the best in the ACC, and they're tied for 7th place nationally in that stat. In the trenches, they're 10th in the pass blocking grade.
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off real quick. Yeah, and that third down conversion, that last game had a big impact because 0 for 12. Yeah,
come on.
I know
now.
we didn't want to recap the last game too much, but 0 for 12. A defense holding the offense, third down is impressive. Mario Cristobal's like, I've never seen that before for any team I've coached, but sorry.
No, absolutely right to give them their flowers there. They have the 9th they're ranked 9th for offensive line grade, and they have the 8th best run blocking grade. So overall, we've talked about it ad nauseum about how this Corey Hatherman defense, he literally tells them, be violent. What was his saying? Do you know the exact quote?
Yeah. Okay, so the cool motto or like slogan for the Corey Hatherman defense that came out after the Florida game. Mohamed Touré, or Mo Touré, if he prefers that, he started mentioning it in the post-game pressers. ESV. Okay, so it stands for excitement, swarm, and violence. For any of the Hurricane fans out there, let's start getting used to hearing that, guys, because ESV, that will be the slogan for the defense going forward. Ruben Bain also talked about it as well. That has been the whole motto that Corey Hatherman has preached to this defensive group, and he said he wants all 12, 13 13 guys running towards the ball, swarming, violence, excitement, and they show up every single day ready to the field to put on their best effort. But to keep going off the stats for the defense so far, they've also 21% of runs against the defense so far this season have resulted in no gain or a loss of yards.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're
That's
going up.
huge.
Something's going to give this week. FSU a great run defense, and they're going up. FSU is great run offense, and they're going up against a great run defense. But also, opponents are only converting 33.3% of their fourth down conversion attempts, and that's second best in the ACC. Opponents have also only had 9 trips to the red zone so far through Miami's games. That's second fewest in the ACC. The defense has 10 sacks. That's 2.5 sacks per game. But some extra challenges that they will face this week that people have been talking about is they're going up against the dual threat quarterback by, Tommy Castellanos, but who I was about to bring up, Byron Brown. Okay, he was
Similar
another
situation.
exactly
Yeah.
right. I don't think it's too much of a difference. Yes, you could. Tommy Castellanos, he is regarded as a better quarterback than Byron Brown, but we did a whole lot of hype up on Byron Brown as the GOAT of the USF football program, and I don't say that lightly because he actually is a very, very good quarterback, and Miami definitely got a taste of what it looks like to face a dual threat quarterback that can hit you in several different ways, and I don't think that's too far off of what Tommy Castellanos can and has done. But yes, to continue off of that, Mario Cristobal also talked about how he expects his team to come into this week and how they have answered from the work that they've put in over this bye week. So let's take a look at what Mario Cristobal had to say. Donnie, can you roll the clip?
Some games you're going to toss it for 400, and sometimes you're going to not do that, right? And whatever that game requires us to do to win, that's all that matters. And I think when guys accept that and buy into that and they're happy for their teammates, when you do get a win, that's when I think a team really galvanizes itself and becomes different.
Well, yeah, Dara. No one can talk about Cristobal's canes better than Mario Cristobal
Stealing
himself.
my quotes, bro.
Hey, I'm not stealing anything. I will give you your credit where it's due. By the way, guys, anybody that you hear say Cristobal's canes, because they said it on a live broadcast the other day, Dara was texting me. She was like, "Did he just steal my name?" Oh my God. But hey, guys, if you see Cristobal Canes in the comments, since you're calling me out right now, I'm stealing your stuff. Nah, I'm going to make this clear right now, Dara. If you guys hear Cristobal's Canes said at any point, social media, comments, anywhere, just know Dara Karadsheh for CaneSport's Countdown to Kickoff started that.
Thank you very
Cristobal's
much.
Canes. But yes, so no one can talk about his team better than him. But we have to talk about the offense for Mario Cristobal's Canes,
For
Dara.
sure.
So tell me about him.
And boy, does that offense look great.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
let's talk about that red zone efficiency. Okay, opponents have only had 9 visits to the red zone.
Yep.
Now Miami on the other hand has scored 17 out of 18 trips
Yes.
to the red zone.
Impressive.
14 of which were touchdowns. Very impressive and vast difference from what we're seeing from the people that are playing at Miami. Miami converts 50% of the time on third down and 66.7% of the time on fourth. And another great thing, they're really good at clock management and basically just the ball control. They always have a majority of the not always, but you'll see the stat in a
they win the
second
time
here.
of
They
possession, a
win
lot
the
of
time
them,
of
yeah.
possession, and that gives them a really great advantage. So they're averaging 33 minutes and 38 seconds for time of possession, and that is the best in the ACC. They rank 12th nationally there. But looking ahead to Florida State, this is their first away game. So that is a new set of challenges that they haven't had to
Yes.
face yet.
Figure out a lot about a team once they go on the road for the first time. Yep.
Clearly, Florida State taught us that last
Yes.
week. And this is also Miami's first ACC game. So it's kind of a double whammy there. And it's a big rivalry. So
yes,
it
I
should
will
be
say
exciting.
though, just in a little defensive Miami, that this
Yeah.
isn't their first time having to face the challenge of getting
yeah,
hyped up for a rivalry
sure.
game because
Yeah,
they're going
Florida.
for the Florida State championship. They've seen 3.
Yeah, they've taken down USF and UF.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I'm not really counting UCF in this, but
USF.
Yeah.
They're ranked.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Florida State. All
Yes,
right.
Florida
Looking
State.
at Florida State, Miami leads the series 36-33, and out of the last 4 times, once again, Miami's been playing Florida State every year since 1969. Okay, they
Yes.
started this when we landed on the moon. Okay, this
Yes.
goes deep. It goes deep. Out of the last
Back when Red was still living.
Red Parrish.
Yes.
Red Parrish was still playing.
He's
at
still
Florida
walking
State,
around. Yep.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Red. Yes.
No, that's okay. So, out of the last 4 meetings between Florida State and Miami, Florida State has won 3 out of 4 of them. But you have to look at the most recent one, 2024. Miami did win that
Yes.
game. So, That's something to think about.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little about just the trenches for Miami as well, because we talk about the offense and defense, but on both sides of the ball, Miami's strength is they're probably the best team in the country as far as the trenches go, the offense and defensive line. As far as their pass blocking grades so far this season for their offensive line, they're 10th in the country. They also have the ninth highest overall grade so far for the season for the offensive line, and they have the 8th best run blocking grade in the country. So, with that said, Carson Beck so far this season, when he has a clean pocket, he converts 76.5% of his passes, okay? And that's 20th, among all quarterbacks, okay? So Carson Beck, CB, is very productive when he has a clean pocket, okay? The offensive line has been one of the best in country, okay? And we mentioned how Florida State got some sacks against Virginia. But we can't say that without failing to mention that Virginia also was down 3 offensive linemen, starters, coming into that game. So Florida's, if they're not able to get some pressure on Carson Beck, they have their work cut out for them. Yeah. But, it's going to be very interesting about how they attack this, because you could maybe see them trying to just hammer up the front and stop Marty Brown and Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle now that he's back from just dominating the game, how the Canes do. But, if they sit back and try and just give Carson Beck the opportunity to make Carson Beck beat them, I think Carson Beck is going to bounce back from his previous week and continue on with the good season that he's had so far.
If you were going to ask me, I would say that this game has all of the perfect ingredients for not only an entertaining game, but for a winning game for Miami.
Yes. Yeah. It's really looking, we don't do too many predictions around here too much, but you know who we're picking this week, guys. It's shout out to Gary Furman. The U. Yes, the U. But to continue off of that, we talked about how Mark Fletcher, Marty Brown, and now Jordan Lyle are back this week. But Mark Fletcher, he put up another 100-yard rushing game against Florida in their last game. So that had us thinking, Dara, who is the leading rusher in Miami Hurricanes history, the leading 100-yard career game rusher in Miami Hurricanes history? So we wanted to check if the real U fans out there know as well. So, Donnie, could you please cue to the trivia?
Well, that was a tough one. I hope the true U fans out there.
Maybe not for the true U fans out there.
Clinton Portis with 14. Man.
Yeah, 14 100-yard rushing games. It's a lot. But Mark Fletcher's closing in. Yes.
He's inevitable, like we always say. Yes. Well, that was fun. I had a lot of fun with you today, Noah.
Thanks, Dara.
Per
Every
usual.
single time, per usual. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys had fun too. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for joining us. This has been CaneSport's Countdown to Kickoff. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.
Have a great day, guys.